temperament, who's never wrong but always right, who'd never dream of starting a fight, who's on your screen with the coming, no one but Dan Shaheen.
Oh, hello, world. Oh, my gosh, I'm woefully unprepared for today's amazing $1 million mailbox. No headphones. Didn't do an audio check. Larry, you hearing me okay back there? Audio sounding okay? Good. Okay. Larry's my sound check guy today. Oh, man. Welcome to the show. It's the $1 million mailbox. I'm your old pal, Dan Shaheen. Today, we're going to look at, oh, man, some of the great comics that people have been sending me. They've been sending them where, you ask? To the $1 million mailbox. P.O. Box 1163, Arcata, California, 95518. I would like to say that I'm late for this show because I was doing really important, like high-paying work. But in reality, I was working on the all-new latest $1 million money stream. You guys may have seen before, I had kind of a cheesy GIF that I just never made me happy. So I've been working hard in Blender and geometry nodes and doing all the stuff we got to do. You know, I was really thinking recently about stopping the show for a while and kind of just like, I don't know why. Like, I feel like I'm losing my mojo. I haven't been getting the number of new subscribers I would like to see. But I've decided, no, that is not the right thing to do. The right thing to do is to keep working, perfecting my craft, and putting on a great show for you people that watch. I got 6 people watching live. Do you know what a miracle that is? To have 6 people sitting here, sitting somewhere, anywhere, all over the world, listening to me talk about comic books that people mailed me for free. That is a gift and a blessing. Unlike many I've had outside of my family life. Larry's one of those people watching right now. He just flashed his screen. I'm going to bring him in just a second. But at first, a little bit of show business. Thank you for watching this thing. Please consider go to YouTube, clicking subscribe to this channel. It would really mean a lot to me. Consider clicking like if you liked it. Click thumbs down if you don't, but leave a comment. Let me know how I can improve this thing. How can we make the $1 million mailbox and my channel experience better? Hey, Charles LePage is sending mojo my way, and I appreciate it. You know, it's tough, man. It's tough. YouTube is a tough racket. I always thought, man, I could get in there and just do fantastic compared to the streams of utter garbage that I see on YouTube. But honestly, those people that are successful with garbage are working hard to put out that garbage. And maybe I'm just not working hard enough. Or maybe it's just what I've always said my entire life, that my audience is limited. I have niche appeal, right? I always knew it was tough to get dates. But when I got a date, when I got a girl who was into what I was giving out, it was amazing. The most amazing relationships I've ever had. And like just a step beyond all those other kind of boring people. That's how I feel my audience is like. And that's why I'm buttering you up right now. Just kidding. I really appreciate it. How can you find people that are willing to talk about what we're willing to talk about? It's not easy. In fact, I'm scaring some away right now with this long diatribe. So without further ado, let me bring in my old pal Lair Dog, Larry Young of AIT Planet Lair. Lair.
Dan Shaheen. I know what you're feeling, man. Sometimes it's bleak in the middle of the night, but I just always keep in mind what Lou Reed said, right? When Velvet Underground came out, he's just like, of course, we want people to listen, but it's not about that. We're doing it for us, right? And if people come along, that's great. The first Velvet Underground album sold 3,000 copies. It's like nothing. But he says everybody. Actually, I don't think Lou Reed ever said this. I think this was, a commentator of some kind. They said that the Velvet Underground album only sold 3,000 copies, but everybody who bought it started their own band. So there's 5, 6, 7 people, people you can count on every day who want to grow up to be Dan Shaheen. So, is it 3 million girls who want to smooch Harrison Ford even now? No. But you know what what you do has value, and I really appreciate you let me tag along every once in a while.
Thanks, Larry. I don't know if I'd still be doing it if it wasn't for you. You know,
Oh, really? Man, I got enthusiasm for everybody. Let's go.
You're Captain Fun, my friend, and you helped make this thing fun. Like, it already was fun. It is fun. You helped me realize the fun. It's fun.
Old days, I would have blown that off, but new Larry is like, yeah, thanks. I really appreciate that. That's some kind words, man. Thank you.
Oh, our old pal Tony Farrow says wishes he could watch, but he's got to go to work now. Tony, we love your stuff, man. We're gonna have you back on the show again. He's been a guest on the show too.
And go to work, man. Keep those lights on so you can make more comics, right?
He's doing amazing stuff. I'm doing. The other thing is, like, if it was just the views, these views would be enough. Like, I get plenty of views for me. Like, to feel satisfied, like the people watching live is what tells me is actually what makes me feel the best, because I go like, this is something worth watching. But then the other thing is, I get mailed amazing stuff, Larry, and I think it's time that we dive into that place that we dive into and take a look at it. What do you think?
Yeah, the $1 million mailbox cam. That's what I want to see. Some good.
You could call it the $1 million comics cam, the $1 million mailbox, or whatever.
$1 million comics cam. Yeah.
I call it home.
We talked about that crazy video that Ken Long did with oh man, I forgot the other guy's name, about $1 Million Strong. You ever see that video? It's not comics related. I'll send it to you later. But oh my god, it's a pretty funny video. First place I saw.
Thing out there called $1 Million Extreme that I've been hearing or that I've been reading about lately. And this dude, Sam Hyde, you ever heard of that guy?
No. What's he?
Every time there's a mass killing, people send pictures of Sam Hyde with a gun and like say it's him, and the media picks up on it and puts out these stories about this guy. Kind of a weirdo. I didn't find him funny, but I find him kind of interesting.
That's a little random for me to be associated with mass killings. Like, I'm not sure. You know, I'm good with comics and Star Trek, basically.
That's not Lair the brand. That's not the Captain Fun brand.
Yeah, I want to like go see the surface of the moon from the inside of a spacesuit. That's the kind of entertainment. I'll probably be listening to some old Who or something while some traffic maybe in my headphone speakers. That would be great. Oh, what do we got here? This looks good.
So this was just released a couple days ago, but I've had it for weeks. The publishers reached out to me. I don't know how they heard about this show, but they heard about it. And they sent me this Dirty Pictures, how an underground network of nerds, feminists, misfits, geniuses, bikers, potheads, printers, intellectuals, and art school rebels revolutionized art and invented comics. This is by Brian Doherty. He's a senior editor at Reason Magazine, fellow libertarian. It maybe came via Pete Bagg, the fact that we've had Pete Bagg on here a couple of times, and he's a contributor to Reason Magazine, or who knows, maybe he just saw one of my interviews with some of the old school legends, most notably Ron Turner, who is amazing. You ever meet Ron?
Yeah, holy crap. My wife's brother, my brother-in-law Thayer, went to Pacific Primary, a preschool, with Ron Turner's son, Colin Turner,
current publisher. He's been on this show too, all grown up now.
Yeah, so my brother-in-law and Colin have been pals since they were like 4.
Oh man, Colin is a swell guy too.
Yeah,
really nice guy.
He knows what he's doing. He's pretty sharp.
Well, and of all the underground publishers, none has as good a reputation and as just being a really great guy, and I can back it up from talking to him several times on the show, as Ron Turner. Yeah. He sent me. So anyway, he's featured heavily in this, along with, the Zap crew, the Dennis Kitchen, Art Spiegelman, and the Raw Gang, and all those guys interacted together. Speaking of Dennis Kitchen, Larry,
wait. Before we get away from Ron, he published an amazing book about Hunter S. Thompson that I wildly recommend. If anybody likes anything about writing or Hunter S. Thompson or, just anything. He arranged this book. It took like 30 years to write, and it's all assembled stuff about Hunter S. Thompson. I think it's called Who Killed Hunter S. Thompson? It's something like
That's
that.
what it is.
Yeah. I got it for a Christmas a couple years ago, and it blew my mind. Hey, Randy. It's good to see Randy over in the comment section, because I first became aware of him on your show. I don't know if it was here or the Star Trek show. I don't know, but it was
Randy
probably here. Yeah. How do you pronounce his last name?
Siplin, I think. Siplin?
Yeah. So I see him all over Facebook now. That guy's hilarious. I have like 5,000 Facebook friends, so it's hard keeping track of everybody. But every once in a while, some guy like just shows up, and I'm like, that guy's awesome. I'll hang out.
This guy, to tell you the truth, he showed up originally in some of my Comicsgate streams and hung around and pals around, and still I did not disassociate himself. He was sort of toying around with whether to associate with the Comicsgate brand or not.
Yeah.
And he never disavowed it or anything like that, but I think he did decide it didn't make a lot of sense to do. And also, he's just a funny guy, like you said.
Yeah, exactly. He's very entertaining. I mean, it might not be like slap your knees funny, but he's super entertaining. He has like the kind of
and an amazing artist. Have you seen? Do you know he does trading card art?
I did. I run around. I don't. Nowadays I'm old. I don't like pick fights with anybody or like give them compliments or stuff. But I'll read their stuff, and I'm like, oh yeah, that guy's hilarious. I'm not muting that or getting rid of that guy. He's funny.
Totally awesome, guys. Terrific artist. Maybe I'll show some of his art on here someday. I know he does some Kickstarters and stuff. Before I do, I want to show real quick, Larry. I want to show one thing, since we're talking about Ron Turner and Underground Comics a little bit. I want to share my screen.
Man, there's a guy that I don't know if it's just because we're from California and spent a lot of time in the Bay Area, but I honestly associate Ron Turner with the whole indie scene, the underground scene, more than I do R. Crumb.
Absolutely, freaking lootly, dude.
But Crumb gets all the press, and Spain Rodriguez and those guys. But man, if Ron's out there doing his thing, nobody knows who those people are.
Well, I'm going to give Crumb credit in a way too, because, because he made a point to spread his stuff out around all the underground publishers of the time. Like, he made it a point to never just give it to one guy. He would give some to Ron. He'd give some to Kitchen Sink. He would give some to Rip Off and contribute to all kinds of other things. Crumb was really amazing in that way, like wanting to promote new cartoonists too. When he did Weirdo magazine, he put stuff in there nobody else would publish.
Well, it's Weirdo. You have to, right?
Absolutely. So they talk all about that in here, and they also talk about my guest next week, Larry. 1 week from today. You ever heard of a guy named Dennis Kitchen?
Dennis Kitchen, yeah, Kitchen Sink Press. You mean?
Yeah. So he did. What was the Kitchen Confidential? Was that what it was? Something. Comic Book Confidential.
Comic Book Confidential.
He did that.
He did something where, Kitchen did a great thing that I loved back in like the 90s. Well, I can't remember.
He also did this. Do you remember this?
No, I don't think that's Kitchen.
This is Dennis Kitchen was the editor. It was published by Marvel, but not under the Marvel name. This was Stan Lee and Dennis Kitchen collaborated to put out some of the contemporary underground cartoonists of the day.
Yeah, that's bananas. When did that come out?
So this was 76, I think.
Oh yeah, that's a hair before my time. I was still reading Treasury editions to catch up on all the history I'd missed, So Stan was involved with that. That's amazing.
Well, and this was the first book ever published by Marvel where the creators retained their own copyrights.
This is amazing.
And
why aren't you buying hundreds of these instead of Skate Man? This is amazing.
I got 5 more Skate Man when I picked these up too.
Well, that's good. At least the compasses are still reading true north, right?
I'm probably going to take a look at this with Dennis. I'm for sure going to take a look at it because it's so important. But like, I wanted to pull it out because it's one of those ones that, dude, I'm an Underground fan. I'm a Marvel fan. I didn't even realize this was a Marvel book.
I had no idea until just now.
And I didn't know it at all until I read Dirty Pictures by Brian Doherty, which ironically has no pictures. Okay. So he really pulled a fast one.
Is that a Curtis Publishing logo up in the corner of the comics book? I can't really.
No, this comes from Abrams.
No, the Kitchen's comic book.
Oh, this up in the corner
where it says it's new up at the
Curtis,
top.
Yeah, Curtis.
Yeah.
Which was owned by Marvel, apparently. Comic book, it says, is published by Magazine Management Company, which was the parent company of Marvel at the time. They did not want to put Marvel on this thing. Though it has an intro by Stan Lee, as you can see right here, instigator Stan Lee, editor Dennis Kitchen. So fun book. This will be a really fun one to talk about. It's got Crumb. Now, Crumb refused to do this book. Okay. Now, one of the things about it was they promised they would only return, I think it was either 1/2 or 1/3 of the original artwork to the artists. To which Dennis Kitchen said, well, we can get around that by having you guys just submit photo-ready artwork. And then they can keep whatever they want. You get to keep the originals. Dennis, smart, way ahead of his time thinking about that stuff. The other thing was they said, anything that's been published before, you guys can keep the copyrights. And anything that's brand new to this magazine, Marvel's going to keep. So this was a bone of contention on the Underground guys. And a lot of people are like, no way, we're not going to work for them. Crumb absolutely refused to do any work for them, which is what made me super curious about this image, Larry.
Uh-oh.
I don't know if you've seen the way. I got a bigger one. Hang on a second. Let me.
I totally know Mr. Natural. Before, when I was a kid, when that was coming out, I didn't even know what it was. But that was the first time I learned what bootlegs were.
Yeah.
Because my dad was, he didn't care about any of that stuff. But even it trickled into his head that it's like, we were, I remember this really clearly. We were driving across country on some family trip, because that's what you did in the early 70s. And we stopped at a Stuckey's. Do you remember those things?
Sure.
Yeah. And so that was like our way station. We'd drive like 130 miles or something and go to we would just travel from Stuckey's to Stuckey's. And that's how me and my sister like behaved ourselves, right? And that this one thing, I would buy like little stickers to make it look like there was a bullet shooting in the thing, or soap that turns black in your hands, and stickers and crap. And I got to keep on trucking Mr. Natural thing. It wasn't Mr. Natural.
It was keep on trucking. Yes.
Keep on trucking. And my father like lost his mind because he hated hippies. Like he was Batman and hippies were the Joker. And he was like, I don't know. That's kind of funny. I guess you can put that on the car. And so my dad, Mr. 1950s John Wayne guy, was driving around with a keep on trucking sticker for like 5 years.
Totally bootleg.
Right.
Definitely bootleg. And Crumb, though, I learned in this book that Victor Moscoso, the famous poster artist, San Francisco poster artist, who was one of the XVII, those poster artist guys that were in there were way ahead of the curve on keeping your copyright and making sure everything was legit, because they were already making big bucks in the underground scene.
They came from the art and music world. So
yes,
they're going to be on top of that, right?
Totally were, but they brought up the level of everybody else in Zap, so everybody else, it was all taken care of. Crumb made much money suing those keep on trucking bootlegs. Tons of money came in just from those.
Wow, that's cool.
Okay, which leads me to ask.
Anyway, back to this. Sorry.
No, it all comes full circle. That was perfect, because he's known, one, to never want to contribute to corporate stuff. Hates Disney, hates Marvel. Marvel's owned by Disney. Marvel wasn't owned by Disney then, but even then, he would not work for Marvel.
Right.
and is known to sue and known to own his copyrights and keep that up to date. Now, this appeared in the new Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers movie, apparently voiced by the director too.
Okay.
This character, it was maybe a 5-second cameo tops of Mr. Natural, never called by name. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So immediately, this was on the web all over. People were talking about this. But immediately I go, Crumb would never allow it. I mean, unless there was a humongous dump truck of money involved, which I just don't believe there would be for a 5-second cameo.
Yeah. Yeah. And
everyone was all over me saying, this is no way. Disney's lawyers rule everything. There's no way this got in. What do you think, Larry? I reached out to a couple of people. I want to talk about that for a bit before we are going to get to the comics, folks. The other comics.
I just have, I'm just a guy who reads the papers. I'm not a legal scholar, although I do have a TV JD. So I am. Oh,
I didn't know that.
I am a lawyer based on television stuff. I think there's probably a few things going on. Like, I think either they cleared it and he didn't care because it was a 5-second thing and he was like, go, leave me alone. It's probably
doubtful to me.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just saying, going through all the different permutations, I think it's probably more likely that because it's 5 seconds and they don't say his name, it's fair use, right?
Okay, so this is our new segment, by the way.
Ask Captain Fun.
Ask Captain Fun. I've got a game planned, Larry, for if we didn't have a guest tomorrow on Serious Star Trek. I had a game called Is It's Fun with Larry Young.
Oh, all right. Well, we could.
We should play it still.
We could still do that. Rick would be hilarious. So we should tell people Rick Austin, Big Shot Hollywood, MTV producer, directors, coming to Star Trek tomorrow. So
that's going to be so awesome. Check out Star Trek tomorrow. That's honestly why I was late. I was busy making like flying Quatloos and stuff for Serious Star Trek.
Nice. Shit! Rick doesn't have a Quatloo. I got to send him one.
So my question was, like, would Crumb allow it? We're both probably if he was asked, he would say no.
I don't know him. I just know based on his reputation. I'm with you. I have no idea how this got into a Disney movie.
Right. Everything I know tells me he wouldn't let it.
Right.
So I reached out to several people. I reached out to Eric Reynolds, his publisher at Fantagraphics, co-publisher. And I reached out to the inimitable Ron Turner as well.
Oh, those
who
are
immediately put me in contact with Crumb's agent in France. So I've put the word out. I've asked the question.
I'm dying to know what they say. This is amazing.
So I also asked lawyer to the comic book stars, Michael Finn, another guest on the show, IP expert, IP lawyer expert, and expert in comics.
Here's the guy. Apparently, Ask Captain Fun is like, here's the guy on the streets idiot thing, and now we've got some actual legal experts to come in and say, what did Michael say? I'm interested.
Well, his video, by the way, is climbing up my charts as one of
that's
becoming a perennial of people that really, because he asked and answered a lot of questions about this kind of stuff. So I reached out to him and he said, did Crumb own the copyrights? I said, yes, that's all. Absolutely did. Although I did a trademark search and I found an expired Mr. Natural trademark on clothing. Okay. What he said is what Michael Finn, Lord of the Comic Book Stars, told me was that most likely they're prying for fair use, just like you said, as a parody or satire. I think it's debatable. And if it's satire, what are you satirizing? I think damages would be almost impossible to calculate or to show that wouldn't get solved with a quick settlement. So I believe this is a roll of the dice by Disney and their lawyers.
I don't know. I think it's not as close as you think it is, because you can. That's the thing about satire and parody. I mean, I haven't watched this yet, but people are all talking about it, all the cool cameos and stuff, and how it's like Who Framed Roger Rabbit for the 21st century. So that gives me an idea of what they're doing. There's no damages whatsoever for a 5-second thing if that character isn't doing anything a lunatic. If he's just like, they don't mention his name and he comes into it looks like he's just bursting into a room going, hey, everybody. That's just, you You could use anybody there, right?
Okay, true. But now, can I get sinister for a minute? Can I get adults only, since this is an adults only comic book for just a second?
Uh-oh.
Okay. So I don't know if you've heard all the internet stuff about the secret tunnels underneath Disney, but you've certainly heard about Disney's agenda. That is a huge thing with Buzz Lightyear in the news and all this stuff about kids, grooming kids, etc. Okay, now wait. Now bear with me.
No, I'm with you. I'm just laughing because I'm not interrupting you.
Bear in mind now. Bear in mind. You've read Zap. You've read Zap number 4 with the incest family.
Oh, right. Yeah, a long time ago.
Okay. It straight up was ruled by courts as obscene, as having no redeeming merit, and as being like, you can be in trouble for selling this thing in the wrong state. Okay. This is where I go, like if the lawyers who looked at this thing really knew what was going on with Robert Crumb, his legal history and everything, there is no way they would allow this to be associated with the Disney brand.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're right. But on the other hand, I think that they don't think it's going to damage them. A 5-second shot of something only, enthusiasts know about, that's like, it's not the same level in Free Guy where, he picks up Cap's shield and they cut to Chris Evans, right? Like, it's just a 5-second shot where he comes into the room and everybody goes, haha, that's our Crumb. I mean, half the people don't even know that's Mr. Natural.
Right? Totally.
So what damages does that cause?
Okay, but here's where it gets weird. I'm obsessed with this.
I don't think it's as not controversial. Of course, it's controversial, but like secret, conspiracy.
I believe it was because the conceit of Chip and Dale was.
I guess I gotta watch this movie now.
Yeah, all these different animated cartoons. Okay. Mr. Natural is not an animated cartoon. Okay. Never has been, as far as I know. But there is a Robert Crumb animated cartoon that would have fit in perfect, that I guarantee you was probably suggested first and struck down, and that's Fritz the Cat.
Right.
So they could have used Fritz the Cat, but somebody goes, no, that's X-rated cartoon.
Right. That's Disney wouldn't do that literally just because of that. The second somebody Googles Fritz the Cat and you see X-rated, like then they're causing trouble for themselves, right?
You just nailed it. So but if you saw Mr. Natural and you're a young millennial lawyer who's never really read, you kind of know Zap and Crumb, and he's edgy and Mr. Natural's fairly harmless, but even Mr. Natural, extreme misogyny and violence that I love, by the way. Let's get this straight. I'm nothing better than
everyone knows you're a big fan of misogyny and whatnot.
But no, it's extreme. The Devil Girl stuff, cutting her head off and giving Devil Girl to Flaky Foont to do with as he will, and he does, is like that alone, and then let alone anything else from Zap, or literally, throw a stone at any Crumb comic, and you're going to find something that absolutely is utterly adult and should never be associated with children's material. Right. So I just feel this was, I'm so curious how this happened, from coming off the storyboards all the way through legal into coming, into being produced. Was anyone really aware of the connotation here?
I'm sure whoever pitched it was trying to be subversive, and you and me do stuff like this all the time to see what we can get away with, right? And
so Disney has to know this, and in this,
do they know?
Grooming stuff probably, when this was in pre-production, probably was not as big a thing as it is right this second.
I honestly think everybody's so worried about the reception their Star Wars stuff gets and their Marvel stuff gets, and they're combating all the like, oh, you're too woke, or there's not enough representation for racists. They're so worried about that Mr. Natural for 5 seconds didn't even hit Disney Legal's radar, I bet.
the racial stuff from Crumb alone should
I
have been
know.
an
I
utter
know,
red
but
flag.
look at say you're Disney, right? And nobody knows who this character is.
That's what I mean. They don't know.
Nobody's going to go research it for them to get in trouble. You know what I mean?
I'm blowing this wide open, Larry. I'm on the QAnon board.
You want some heads to roll, right? Like, yeah.
I don't. I guess I just want to cause trouble. No, what I want to do is go like, who thought this was a good idea? I don't see it as a smart thing to do with Disney.
I mean, I agree with you, but I also think this is a victimless crime, right? A 5-second shot of a hippie thing from 70 years ago. It's, I think that you and just me, because you're telling me this, and the 6 or 8 or 10 guys we got going now are the only people that even thought about this for more than a second.
You might be right.
I think your regular audience member went, "Oh, that's some hippie thing," and I get the joke, and just kept going, right? Oh my God!
Absolutely, that's what I go. And then even a lawyer, but that's where I go. Like, they couldn't do Fritz because it's an easy Google. You could do Mr. Natural. You need 2 clicks to get to like extremely racist material.
But then, like, is it really 2 clicks? I mean, I would need 2 clicks to find out what that character's name was, and that's even like knowing that that's an R. Crumb piece of art. But you got to tell me, oh my God, what was up with all those Machine Mans that you just threw up there? Because no kidding, my son and I spent an hour and a half yesterday talking about Machine Man and my pitch for Machine Man. Now that Marvel's doing everything, Moon Knight shows and stuff, I told him I would just do
Machine Man.
I would just do a Mad Max reboot starring him and make it a detective show.
We'll get a Machine Man, which was now like it was set in the far-flung future, but now it's our quaint past of 2020 when this comic book was set. I talked about it a couple weeks ago with Brian Garside from Manage Comics. We were talking about his computer stuff, so I brought in Machine Man too.
Oh, right on.
This is one of those ones where it's just it's such a fun book and so different than almost anything Marvel was putting out at that moment.
Right.
I really, really enjoyed it.
Machine Man's an awesome character. He started in the 2001 adaptation, right?
Okay, speaking of awesome though, Larry, this guy, I just got this in the mailbox. Wait, this is great.
Oh, Randy, yeah. I know, that's awesome. Look at good old Randy. That's awesome.
Randy was on those streams, dude. He was on those Comicsgate streams where I was getting, eviscerated for so many things that I am not. That was what I hated the most. Like, call me an asshole, call me opinionated, call me a loudmouth. I am.
Right.
But I'm not. Am I a soy boy social justice warrior? I don't think I am. I don't know.
The thing about those Comicsgate guys that is readily dismissible is that's the level of their insults, right? It's like, all right, I mean, I love avocado toast. You have something against avocados? Really? I mean, I don't really see that as an insult. Avocados are great. I mean, so it's soy
like
boy.
If you're not with us, you must be diametrically opposed to us.
You know what I really liked personally is like I kind of just really got on the barest fringe of that with you and I don't even know what's his name. The 3.
Yes.
Yeah. Like I just don't run in those circles. I don't know who that guy is. I'm unfamiliar with his work. I know he did Cyberfrog because you told me. And I was like, well, I'm gonna get the big bucket of diarrhea on my head because how do I not know, they're Jesus? And everybody kind of went, oh, okay. And even Evan was like, yeah, I think he did comics. I don't really know him. And it's not an insult. It's like, it's just we were in different worlds at different times, right? So
totally.
You can't get mad at somebody.
Well,
it's like getting mad at me because I can't speak French. I just didn't know, right? So anyway,
mouth off the way I did. I made a stream of like enemies that day. I gotta admit, it was fun.
I think that's great. Like somebody who wants, wishes you ill because you don't like the same comics they do. I think that's amazing. I'm like, right on, man.
Well, that was the thing too. I was trying to talk about my perspective and how I'm not even I'm anti-identity politics and stuff like that. And just nothing, just totally.
Well, for those guys, like I get away with it because I'm the patriarchy, right? For those guys, you have all these political things, and like, frankly, I'm not sure you're all that white, Dan. So that's gonna, that's gonna get those people mad, right? I don't know. I hate
who my team was, Larry, when they started tearing apart my stream, right? And I talked about who I was talking with on my next interview, and I go, this next guy, the guy I'm talking to next time is a legend, Ron Turner. And they paused the video. And he's like, he's not. Who's that? Who's a legend? Ron? I never heard of him.
That tells you all you need to know, right there.
All right. Okay, that tells me all.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a different crowd. What are you gonna do? That's cool. I'm glad you kind of reached out and interacted with them. Honestly, just from an audience member standpoint, like that was really fun to watch. Like, I was like, oh man, Dan's a braver guy than I am because
you're dumber. A lot dumber.
No, you're not dumber than me because you meant to do that. That might have happened to me, but I would have just done it by accident, right?
Okay, well, Larry, check it out. I got this. This guy jumped to the top of the list. Normally, I'm working through a backlog in the $1 Million Mailbox, but I got this, and I couldn't resist because it says sort of urgent.
Yeah, man. Like that stuff,
please.
That's stuff's great. Yeah,
and I'm glad I did. It's our old pals at Bottle Crow who sent me this sort of free preview collection of their Kickstarter that launched June 4th. So we're a little late for the launch, but it's still going. Check out the Chimera Kickstarter because they sent me one of the coolest stickers ever, like their Bottle Crow logo. And then this time he sent me this. It's hard to tell here. It's a pin with see how it's clear? Yeah. It's like a bottle and it's got a crow in it. My wife was all over this thing.
That's cool.
Super cool. And it says, hi, Dan. Oh, by the way, a nice letter, which is what I always ask for. Somebody finally did. It says, hi, Dan. Hope you're doing well. This is a small token of our appreciation for your interest in our work. Getting noticed is really hard, but being featured on your show in the past has made it a lot easier. We're collecting all of our past work into an anthology, included as a preview. You can check out the project here, kickstarter.com/projects Bottle Crow Chimera. Just look up Kickstarter Bottle Crow, I think, and you're going to find that. I really want to thank you for sending your stuff in, and I want to just take another moment to say to everybody out there, if you have not sent in your comics, please consider sending them in. $1 Million Mailbox. If we want to check it out, and you want to check out Chimera, let me zoom, see if I can zoom on the Bottle Crow Comics. Check out their Kickstarter. Tell them Dan and Larry sent you. Okay. Cool.
I love that pen. I'm all about the ancillary stuff like that.
I remember we reviewed his book and we really liked it, Larry. It was, I
totally remember. I'm just talking about that pin, like making those pins. It seems kind of like a waste of money if you're not like really up on marketing and advertising. But man, sometimes like one of those pays for the other 49. You know what I mean? Just anyway.
Great merch.
That's why we have Quatloos.
Absolutely. Okay, so I'm not going to look at this whole thing. I'm just going to say this is one of the more
that stuff's great.
Fully realized and professional submissions to the $1 Million Mailbox that we've received, and I've received a lot now. Speaking of which, I've got two more. Okay, so and these ones follow a theme of childhood trauma, I think. Two books. One, Attaboy, Tony Mcmillan, and Freaks, the graphic memoir of minor trauma by Nancy Macri. Okay. Now, Tony sent me a big box with all his stuff. There's like 3 more graphic novels I need to check out. Okay. Tons of comics, tons of great stuff. This is his latest, though, and it's the first one I read. And just like everything in the $1 Million Mailbox, it's not until I actually pick it up and read and absorb the whole thing that I can go, holy cow, like this is a neato thing. Which one should we talk about? We'll talk about that one last.
I always go left or right. And plus, Creature of the Black Lagoon. I'm not a great Universal Monster fan, but The Invisible Man and The Creature of the Black Lagoon always get me to look at stuff.
Well, this lady too. She's a big monster fan as a kid. And this book, she sent it to me with a nice letter too, which I left somewhere else. Nice letter. She saw my show, some of my interviews with, I think, Craig Yo, maybe, or someone from that crew. Enjoyed it and sent in this book. It's a really nice looking package from Palmetto Publications in Charleston, South Carolina. Doesn't have a cover price on it. That'd be my only knock production value wise. It's got a really nice kind of matte finish with, I think there's a little bit of spot varnish going on here on her glasses. It's kind of hard to tell, but it's subtle. And this book is sort of like a memoir book. It's almost like, you remember Marley's, you remember those old, the strip that ran in the weeklies. Oh gosh, what's Linda Barry? Used to
I remember Linda Barry, of course.
Yeah, she would do those strips in the weekly. You'd see From Hell and you'd see Linda Barry stuff, which was like Marley's. It was like a story of like kind of her as a child or through the lens of a child. Award-winning, interesting stuff in a very like rough, purposely kind of childlike style. All right. This is not that, but it reminds me in content wise, just because it's sort of memories of childhood done in these sort of single page strips. Except Nancy Macri, I like her drawing a lot better than
Linda Barry. Yeah.
Linda Barry. Well, I do like Linda Barry. So she's got a really nice style in black and white. As we go through, we get to see her drawing in all kinds of different styles.
I love that she's obviously using references from, pics her parents took when she was a girl. I think that's great.
So this is her as a 4-year-old kid.
Yeah. That's a picture of her in the driveway somewhere.
And she sort of describes herself as a tomboy. Mm-hmm. She was really into like dressing kind of that boyish. And of course, this was in the 60s, I want to say, early 60s. And it wasn't too popular with her parents, but they let her. She really patterned herself after Dennis the Menace and started dressing like Dennis the Menace from the TV show. So right away, I knew I liked this lady.
Yeah, that's a funky choice, though, huh?
You're gonna dress yourself as maybe the most annoying character on television.
Why not, right?
I really
love it. I love that
like universe
that spoke to her, though. It's like, all right, I'm gonna be the guy that is just the jerk.
I think there's a great Dennis the Menace universe where like Mr. Wilson is the hero and he's just beleaguered by this evil kid who's got like ADD and is hopped up on Ritalin.
Well, that's like, yeah, but that's a short story, right? Because all you have to do is call Child Protective Services and that kid goes away.
In this day and age now, then he gets arrested, right? Who knows what's going to happen?
Maybe, yeah.
So she's really talented. She was super into, when all of her other friends were into dresses and dolls, she was into the Universal monsters. Okay. So that's a huge theme of her life. Those are boys' toys, weirdo, right? So she had to deal with all that stuff. Even though, she's a very normal girl, has crushes on boys and stuff growing up, and
just likes monsters.
It's really interesting to see this period of time through the lens of a girl, because you would see all this stuff through a boy of the same era, and it would just be like, yeah, I was way into Dennis the Menace.
Right, it would be awesome. Right.
And it was like, yeah, that was my universe, and all my friends were into it, and it was the thing. And this, it was like a real source of just like shame and ousting of her from the community. And she grew up to do her own thing, right? I really love this book. It's long, it's in depth. We get a lot of stuff. Her whole childhood, growing up through Catholic school and going into her family life, her school life, and everything in between. A lot of really deep stuff, really well drawn, really well written. Just if you're into autobio comics, you're going to do a lot worse than this, especially because
there's not like a lot of good ones.
Well, because they're boring. Yeah, they get boring, dude.
Yeah.
And like when you stretch out a story for 24 pages or whatever, more or less, she's condensing what some cartoonists would stretch out into these one-page strips, so they're very graphically and narratively dense. But unlike, like I was saying, a lot of the weekly artists and stuff, there's more work put into the rendering and figure drawing and such to walk this line between cartoony and sort of like more photo referenced. She's definitely on the cartoonier side, but sort of straying towards that realistic side. And I like that.
I love that each page, it looks like, she's just doing like a page a day, and it's some kind of, interesting observation from her old life, her younger lives.
All the way up
she
to
starts off like, she started off in the beginning, like how you make a geek, and I'm a year old, and now she's in high school sororities, which I didn't know was a thing. But
we get to go all the way through that, and we get tons of great stuff.
It's an awesome conceit for the autobio thing, that like instead of locked into this giant narrative, right, you can just read a couple and go, oh, okay, that's cool, and maintaining your enthusiasm across the whole thing.
Absolutely. Well, and it's very detailed and very true to life. Comes from real life experiences, and it's got that.
She gave an acknowledgement to her cat. You gotta love that.
And yes,
yeah, gotta love that.
And it's got that. I'm going to say more from the Harvey Pekar school. It's really about ordinary folks and ordinary life and real stuff going on. Okay. But from her life, here's a great picture. Okay. Nicole Macri is an accomplished. She is an accomplished who has won awards, and she's not an accomplished copy editor, but she's an accomplished something.
She's accomplished. Accomplished.
That's my only gripe in this book, is maybe that typo and the lack of a cover price.
Is that's her handwriting though, right?
I think
that's
so.
That's not fun. I mean, the lettering inside is her handwriting, so
yes.
I can see where that would happen if you're writing your lettering along. I can see dropping a word. I do that when I write on Facebook all the time. But oh my God, how do you not look at that? It's your back cover.
It's great. But it's great. That's an easy one.
No, I know, but quality control.
Explores the transformation from infancy to young adulthood, when sometimes the seemingly least significant things shape us the most. What I really liked about this is that she is from an older generation, older than me, where we've seen a lot more of this stuff from the younger cartoonists and stuff, and it's more early references. I really like seeing this thing of like a fan, like a somebody liked weird stuff in the 60s, a girl who liked that stuff, and how that affected the rest of her life.
I just love that, you figure that looks like it's 144 pages. It looks pretty thick. Okay, she doesn't have page numbers though.
You nailed it, Larry. 147, 148.
Yeah, that's too many years in the publishing foxhole. But I'm glad that she did such a survey of her life, looking back on it with her talents now, right? Like the thing I don't dig on some of these autobio things is like, you haven't lived enough life for me to give a crap, you know. But some 28-year-old doing his
That's what I mean. That's what I
mean?
mean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's cool that she's looking back on her life with the power she has now, and in control of the story and narrative. That's really cool. I liked it.
And obviously, the other person to compare this to that I should have thought of immediately was Alison Bechdel, whose newest work I read, The Secrets of Superhuman Strength. It was Eisner nominated this year. Actually, it's really great. I got to bring that one in soon too and talk about it.
Walker's really getting into comics, so we were at Hibbs' store yesterday for New Comics Day, and that one was prominently displayed. That
I really like it,
to the point we were watching something, and 3 women were talking about it was something. We were watching like Obi-Wan or something, and 3 women were talking about the plot, and even Walker's like, "Oh, that passes the Bechdel test."
How amazing too. That's one of the most prominent like uses of a cartoonist's name that I can think of, you know.
I think you're right, but it's ridiculous because I get what people are trying to promote.
Yeah.
But like, you know, the beginning of Baby Got Back passes the Bechdel test, right? I mean, they're talking about girls with their
talking about a girl's butt. Yeah.
Right. They're like, she looks like a prostitute. It's like they're not talking about a guy.
True.
So what does like the Bechdel thing really mean? Right?
It is a little arbitrary. I'll agree with that. But I will say it's startling when you think back about how few meaty roles there are for women and how often they are put into just like the girlfriend role or whatever. So I think it speaks to that.
I agree.
Okay. So let's go into
36, 24, 36. Maybe if you're 5'3". You know, I mean, are you really promoting anything when you're not talking about me? I don't know. I think it's a little silly to like latch onto that. I think it's a great thing to keep in mind if you're a storyteller. I don't think the audience needs to think about that at all. Right.
I don't think they necessarily do, but I think from that storytelling point of view, it's not a bad gut check for
right. No, I agree 100%.
Like exactly. I like it from that. I would hate to see, and I wonder if we could point out, we got to point out like where somebody like wrote their script and then put in a Bechdel scene, like to make sure we tick that box.
Right. That box was checked. I just like, as a storyteller, I don't want people to think that they can take arrows out of the storytelling quiver, right? Because if some audience is thinking about that, they're not thinking about your story, right? Like maybe there's a giant scene that has to happen wherein 2 women are talking about a boy, right? And that's like the point of the whole thing. And somebody's going to go, well, that doesn't pass this arbitrary thing that like Alison Bechdel kind of doesn't even like that people do that, you know? So I don't know. I think it's
well.
fun.
So then let me ask you, Larry, Bechdel test. Wait, what? Is it fun?
To me personally,
or
just in general? Yes, of course.
Fun?
Anything that helps you understand narrative is fun. It's when it gets to this point where like people that aren't really involved and aren't trying to do the gut check thing are just, you know, proving that, you know, it seems a little like what is that called? Virtue signaling, right? It's like, look, I've noticed this and I disapprove, and I want everyone to know. It's like, just live your life, man.
Okay, right. We might be getting a hate speech warning as we speak right now, Larry. You're triggering the algorithm. No, I'm just kidding.
I don't know. I'm used to people taking things I say the wrong way.
All right, let's talk about, speaking of things that you can take the wrong way, perfect segue, because when I heard about this one, this is Attaboy, the illustrated instructional booklet by Tony Mcmillan. And what this is pitched as is as the missing video game manual of a video game he remembers from when he was a kid, but nobody else remembers really.
Yeah, that's cool.
Right? Yeah, so I'm like, I like instructional books. I like instructional art. You know, maybe this would be, I don't like video games though.
I love the logo's got the up and down buttons that spell Attaboy. So that explains that, right?
And the name, I go, yeah, it immediately made me think of something like Mega Man, which is one of the few games I did like when I was a kid, which is amazing because he thanks the creators of Mega Man in this book, and I didn't know that till the end. Okay,
that's cool. Yeah, so he's inspired by that. Oh, here's a cool thing. I did not predict this was going to be a color book.
Yes,
a nice color,
you didn't
glossy paper too.
Larry, that's the beginning of the surprises here. Okay.
Cool.
This is where this book is super cool because what it turns out is, sorry, video and spoiler alert, but sorry, video game fans, it's not really about video games. It's kind of about video games, right? He's sort of, here's a game. And there's a video game from when I was a kid that no one seems to remember, right? Called Attaboy. And he talks about a little bit about what the levels kind of were like and some of the sort of scoring system. Now, his style right away is not what you're expecting or not what I was expecting. It's a very, I don't know, it's got some Bill Sienkiewicz feel to it. It's got some, it's definitely not what you expect out of a video game instruction manual parody. At least I wouldn't.
Yeah, I mean, just based on the first couple of pages, I think it's pretty bold not going with this, round, organic sort of video game art. Because I look at this and I kind of think of you. I guess you said it with Sienkiewicz, but it specifically reminds me of what was that New Mutants character that was all?
Oh yeah, Warlock.
Yeah,
that's who I'm thinking of for sure. I didn't even put that connection together. That's absolutely what I'm seeing. And so he talks about the motherboard, talks about sort of some of the bosses that you would fight and the villains in this thing. And we start getting a little more of a clue on what this thing is really about.
Oh, man, this is fantastic.
Okay. And
because it speaks to that whole, what is that called? That everybody thinks that Sinbad was in a Alakazam movie or something. What was that called? Oh, the Mandela effect, right?
Oh, yeah. Yes.
Mandela. I don't know.
Uh-huh.
Everybody thinks.
Yeah, where we're like, like everybody kind of remembers it.
Right. So that's cool. I feel like I missed out on this video game. You could tell me this with a straight face, and I'd go, "Oh yeah, that sounds cool," because I have unless it's Donkey Kong or Joust. I was a pinball guy, man. I'd play pinball all day long, but not video games.
Look at these layouts. Look at these colors.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
I love his palette choice. It's very reds and oranges, which is all energy colors, and then gives you a cool blue. So right as you turn the page, so you don't feel all like stressed out. I don't know if this is intentional or just he knows because he understands the form, but that's pretty cool stuff.
I'm gonna say intentionality. I'm gonna give him the benefit of the doubt because
he starts off his story with word building. You're probably right that he has a pretty firm grasp on what he wants to do, because that's cool. That's what
made me think of Mega Man when he starts talking about the doctor who created him, Dr. Atta. There was a doctor in Mega Man, Dr. Wily or something in Mega Man.
Dr. Atta. So he's Atta's boy.
Atta's boy, exactly.
I love these fonts, right? The video game, put in your initials thing.
How many times do you do that? So many times.
I did it yesterday. Walker and I went to Dave and Buster's, and I aced the axe throwing.
And so he starts using this. He starts talking about how like you would play it over and over again, right? And some people, even after they won it, would play it over and over again. And how losing you would keep sort of destroying yourself, but you get to start again and you would learn and go forward. He's using this this video game literally as a metaphor for life. But then it gets a lot more, it gets a lot deeper, right? So we go into the world building and all the different characters and the bosses, the boss level. Scrapper was a mystery. Was he a friend or a foe? And I'm trying to get to where it kind of reveals itself is when he starts talking. Wait a minute. I gotta
is this a Kickstarter or is this something you can get right now?
I believe this is self-published, and there is a Kickstarter for it, I believe.
Yeah, but I mean, but they exist, right?
I got to look. I don't have the link handy. So really just graphically interesting, but then this is where it starts getting real weird.
It starts getting weird.
Yeah, yes.
I don't know. It seems a little a tenuous grasp on reality so far anyway, but now it gets weird, huh?
Yes, because okay, my mother had given me the game as a birthday present. We didn't have a lot of money, so I tried not to ask for much. She always found a way to get me what I wanted, even without asking. I never blamed her for leaving my father. Okay, and then this is where it sort of reveals. It happened before I was old enough to remember, and from what I could put together, he wasn't a very good man. He hurt her. He would have hurt me too if she had let him stay. So we've brought it all the way from this ostensibly, a manual from a kid's toy into this is a metaphor for the kid's life, for the guy's life who grew up without a father. And Attaboy, of course, what would you want? That's all you want. Is you want to get an attaboy from your dad, right? When you're a kid. And it just like, it was at this moment that I go, oh man, I didn't understand what this comic was about at all until I got here. And then it made me go back and sort of re-look through and see all the metaphor that I was sort of maybe glossing over before that. And it becomes a pretty deeply emotional story. After that, it's very, it's crazy. I'm going to compare this thing to Art Spiegelman's Mouse.
Wow.
I'm going to, because this is the kind of cartooning that I think Spiegelman loved. Oh yeah. Hey, thanks, Larry. Larry put up a link to the,
no worries. He's selling it. I didn't want to interrupt you, but he's selling it on his Etsy page. So
yeah, no, I'll share that in a minute.
That's a link that goes right to it. But man, the reason I wanted to do that while you were talking is because you're like, oh man, you don't have to convince me that. You flip the back and I saw it was $12, and I'm like, that's a $12 book, easy. I'm getting that as soon as I get off talking to you guys, because I got some stuff to buy. It's my kid's birthday tomorrow. It's gonna be 15. Get some last minute stuff. I was gonna tell you what I got him. I was like, he's probably
don't do that. You can't. Do that.
Yeah, there you go, Attaboy. I love that logo. I love the color palette he chose. I love the story. I love every friggin' thing about this. So nice work, Tony.
It looks like nothing I've read before.
Yeah, that's the kind of comics I love. Huh? Haven't seen this before. Give me one of those.
But yeah, filled with like dynamic action, but in service of a story that is something more. So I'm not saying Art Spiegelman would have wrote this comic, but what I'm saying is,
no, I get what you're saying. Yeah.
9 out of 10 comics Spiegelman might completely dismiss as utter garbage, not worthy of anything because the themes are meaningless, right? But this is a deeply personal theme, and that's what it's all about, guys. I hate to tell you, but that's what it's all about. You can write as many great superhero comics you want, but if there is no emotional resonance,
I'll tell you, just
boring.
As a guy who buys this crap, you see 52 reviews and it's resolved to 5 stars. That means that's a self-selecting thing. Like if you're going to review something using the stars system, it's either going to be 5 or 1. Nobody and then sometimes you get a buddy of yours that's like, nobody's perfect. You get 4, right? That didn't happen to him. It's 5 stars with 52 reviews. All right. That tells you something right there. I guess reviews for this item 7, but still that's even better across the stuff he offers. He's getting 5-star reviews. So that's nice work, Tony.
Tony's been working his ass off. We've got 2 other full-length graphic novels longer than this one. This was the one that I know he's been hyping the most, and I've been waiting so long to get to Tony's stuff. I couldn't wait till I read it all because there's just so much of it. And he said, that's okay. I'm going to definitely bring in his other books and mix them in with future Mailbox shows.
Yeah, right on. That's cool. Yeah.
Awesome, dude.
I got $12 for that guy. So that's really doing the job, right?
That's starting to tingle.
Okay. So yet another amazing edition of the $1 Million Mailbox. And Larry, I just want to thank you so much.
Oh man. Thanks for having me.
I
get exposed to so much cool stuff. I mean, I would be one of the guys watching this live if I wasn't on, because what you're doing is pretty valuable. And I love it. Looks like you're Spider-Man. That's cool. Now you have to get up and do that.
Well, wait, yeah, right. You mean
there you go.
Or I can do that. This is pretty fun too. Let's see. Whoa.
Oh man, I would play with that all day long. Make Spider-Man go up behind you. Just make faces. Oh my god.
And I do, Larry. This is what I do all day when I'm
but you're always designing like, I'm gonna put Farrah Fawcett in the Enterprise. You're always you're learning something. It's just in service of silliness, but that's how we do it here. Spider Dan, man, I love your outgoing credits. The Spider-Man song.
We're about to get to him, Larry.
And the beginning though, like I don't remember how it goes, but like right at the end, you have a cute girl going, "It's Dan Shaheen." And that just is like so comforting to me to hear that song.
Well, let's talk about internet music for a bit. How I source my stuff, because I don't pirate. I look for Creative Commons stuff, or I seek out permissions from the creators. $1 Million Mailbox theme is actually the Donald Duck theme song played on accordion and guitar. I can't remember the guy's name, but it's in the credits. Of course, the Popeye theme song is our opening theme song of my normal show. And then the Spider-Man Gypsy Jazz for the closing theme. Man, this is actually like I spend more of my time sometimes just searching the internet, looking for these things and then trying to edit them together than I do using them.
Well, but you're learning something, right? Speaking of learning something, I just found out real quick. Rhodey's ringtone for Tony Stark in the first Iron Man is the song it's tuned from the song from the 1966, Tony Stark makes you feel. His ringtone is like, a bit of that song. And I never caught it because why would I? But I know all those songs. My friggin' son knew the words to the Thor one when he was like 6. Like we're totally up on.
Dark blue banner, belted by gamma rays, turned into the Hulk.
Ain't he on glamour rays?
Wrecking the town with the power of a bull.
Ain't no monster clown who is as lovable
As ever loving Hulk. Hulk.
Sorry, Larry.
No, those are beautiful. I love those. Just mildly animated, stuff that they took stats from stuff people have already drawn. So cool. And whoever rhymed gamma rays with unglamorous, they deserve an Emmy or something. That was awesome.
I agree with that, Larry. I agree. Well, look, pal, it's been great. I got to get out of here. Got to go make that money. Although we did make $10.
Good old Randy. Yeah.
Randy, we love you.
It's a good show, man. I like talking to you. That's awesome.
That's why I'm down. I'm gonna stop.
I'm glad
stressing myself about like having to create the viral sensation of the universe and worry more about making a fun show every week that we can just have fun and enjoy talking about the stuff we love. What's better than that?
What's better than that?
Cool. All right, Larry. Speaking of which, tomorrow we're going to talk about the stuff you love a little more than I. Today it's comics, which maybe I love a little more, a tiny fraction, maybe more than you.
Different kinds of comics.
You definitely are on a higher level than I am.
Yeah, Star Trek, baby. Next tomorrow, right?
Tomorrow, Friday, noon on the internet. Serious Star Trek. We're gonna look at episode 8. Did you watch it yet?
I did. I loved it.
I haven't
It's
seen it yet. I'm gonna go watch it tonight.
If you like the old Star Trek episodes, like Piece of the Action or Bread and Circuses, the Roman one, or any of the ones where there's a serious crisis to solve and they do it with 100% lunatic whimsy, where everybody has to put on dress-up clothes to solve it, you're gonna like this one. I mean,
This is what they would have done in the holodeck in Next Generation.
Yeah, that's a good observation. I mean, I love it because they dealt with a character's tragic backstory, which was no, but that's my big beef, right? Like, does everybody need a fucking, tragic backstory? One of the main characters, they took that and dealt with it, and hopefully we don't have to listen to that ever again.
Oh, good.
Yeah, and in a really cool action adventure but whimsical way. This is really good. You must be aware of the controversy. Everybody goes, Star Trek Discovery is just not Star Trek. And people would have big fights about that. You can point at this episode. I guarantee you 100%. They were like, well, if that's what you want, we're going to give you one of those. And so it's the old, the original series with modern stuff. It's thematically, you could shoot this with Shatner and Nimoy and stuff and just change everybody's names around and have the same show. So it's a little, it's higher quality. The costumes are awesome. The sets are great. It takes place in the modern day, but man alive, you're like, I don't know. I really enjoyed it.
Who'd have thought that going back to the formula that made you a mega hit, made you a franchise of franchises, would actually pay off?
I just don't understand how they were like, okay, we're going to do Star Trek, except do what we want. And it's like, here's a thought. If you have such a giant, decades-long IP, why don't you just give the waiting audience what they want and like stretch out to what you want to include a little later, instead of like 4 years of crying and soap opera and it's Game of Thrones and it's like, and then Pike shows up and like I even like Spock now. So I got some quibbles, which we'll talk about tomorrow, but they're, at least we're talking about Star Trek again, right?
Totally.
Yeah.
I'll be honest. I was getting a little bummed doing that show when you and John, who are like the Star Trek guys, and I wasn't even watching the shows.
Yeah,
and it would just be like, oh, what was shitty this week? What is crap-tastical this week?
Yeah, it was. John and I love that failure analysis stuff, right? But it is true. It's hard to get new people to jump in when it seems like you're complaining. But now it's like, at least we're complaining about Star Trek instead of.
Well, now you can't complain because you can balance it, right? You can say 3 good things to every bad thing, maybe, that you say.
I mean, there's not even like, this is a solid low A episode. But like, think about that, right? I mean, like, we've had 4 years of like, what are they doing? And now it's like, he had 2 left shoes on, and I saw that in that one shot. That's the level of, quibbles I have in this one.
I thought
like they made characters that I didn't really like that much, or like really shine, because the reason I didn't like them is because we hadn't had something like this. Like in the old days, they would go, this is how they give characters a personality, right? Like, because there's some weird thing where, hey, we're all, merry men in the holodeck, but you still have Worf going, Captain, I am not a merry man. Right. And you're like, oh, okay, that character is that guy. If you've never seen it before, everybody gets a little moment to shine.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, I liked it. It did prove one thing, though. Just here's a little advanced thing. You don't need that Lon Noonien Singh character. Like, the security guard, she's just like, I don't know what she's doing there. You don't. And when you go off script, right, and do a wacky like fairy tale episode, they don't know what to do where they're there either. Like, but all the other characters where you're like, kind of, what are they doing there? Like Hemmer the blind Andorian, yeah, he's like the star of this episode. In terms of comedy relief, not moving the plot along, but just like in terms of like, oh, he does have a character. He's just not a guy going with blue makeup on going like this. And the deal is that the actor himself is really blind, so that has some, narrative. I don't care. Is he good? Yeah, he's good in this episode.
And they actually left him out of the last episode altogether. And but the other character, the one who they've just danced around, I feel like they're just teasing us with George Samuel Kirk.
Yeah. And there's 2 more episodes.
There's going to do something crazy with him. Either that or it's just going to be a running cameo gag, but I can't really believe that.
Well, Jim Kirk is coming in season 2, right? And there's only 2 more episodes for this season of Strange New Worlds. So I got a feeling that if it is something besides just why Kirk is coming, I got a feeling he's going to get injured. And nothing, they won't kill him.
That's all they've done.
There's going to be a reason why his brother has to show up. And then it's like the Kirk boys are on the Enterprise. And then if they do like a full-on Dukes of Hazzard thing where like Jim and Sam are fucking shit up, that's gonna all be worth it.
Yes, but I agree.
But as of right now, I'm not thrilled with Jim Kirk showing up because it doesn't need it. Like Captain Pike and Spock and Number One and everybody, they're all rocking it. So
it's all what they do with him, right? That was my thing, and they haven't done anything with him. So like
Sam or Jim.
Sam.
Yeah, no, they haven't. No, like as of right now, he's just the Sam Rockwell character in Galaxy Quest, which is fine, but like it has to go beyond that one note joke, and I'm pretty sure they will because it's not perfect, but what is, right?
Yeah,
they've got it dialed in. They're doing Star Trek now. I'm good. I'm not just like. It's because Kurtzman doesn't handle the day-to-day. They got Akiva Goldsman in, whatever you think of his career, he at least knows why people are watching the shit that they're watching. So,
okay, that sound means that we're supposed to wait for tomorrow to talk about it. Wait, there's no sound, but that's.
I heard the red alert anyway. That's like what we gotta go.
All right, Larry, great to see you, buddy. I'll see you tomorrow at noon for Serious Star Trek. I gotta play the credits and I'll get us out of here. Thanks, buddy. See you tomorrow.
Thank you, Dan.
And thank you for continuing to watch this thing. Hey, $1 Million Mailbox. Please send those comics in. P.O. Box 1163, Arcata, California, 95518. Don't forget, add a little note. Put a little flavor. Hey, if you've got an enamel or a Clisonné pin or whatever you call this thing. Oh, that's neat. Neato. Anyway, if you've got something like that, send it in and I'll hype it up like I did for Bottle Crow Comics. That is a really cool shot. I'm enjoying that. So come back. Let's see. Wait a minute. Bring this down to earth here, guys. Come back 1 week from today. Comic Book News, our regular interview format show. And I'm going to have another legendary undergrounder, Dennis Kitchen. We're going to talk about that comics book thing. We're going to talk about Kitchen Sink Press. We're going to talk about, I'm going to ask him about his opinion on the Robert Crumb Mr. Natural boondoggle, which took up a big portion of today's show. So come back and check those out and stick around right now. There's going to be a closing credit cameo at the end of this thing. Thank you for watching, and we will see you when? Next time.
Now, Rod, you order anything you want for your big 10-0.
$1 million birthday fries!
Uh-oh.
Mo gets so excited when you order his $1 million birthday fries, he just has to celebrate.
Here you go. Here I am. Uncle Mo. Thank you, ma'am. This'll be a treat. Uncle Mo. Here I am. Why you eat? Please take the fries off my head, kid. The basket is extremely hot.